Hi, I'm Fritz Erickson, president at Northern Michigan University, and I'm delighted to be able to spend a little bit of time this evening with you, welcoming you to the Northern Michigan University family, to answer some of your questions, to share a little bit about what we're doing at the university to prepare for this most unique of semesters, and talk a little bit about what it is to be a parent of a student here at Northern. With me is my friend Cash Dana Paul. Cash works for the housing and student life, and so he'll know a whole lot more than I do about most of the stuff that deals with students. Great guy, really. You'll really enjoy working with him and meeting with him. You know, this is, I'm sure you've heard many times over, this has been a most unusual year for all of us in so many different ways. And certainly that's been the case at Northern Michigan University. But I have to report that last semester was just truly remarkable. Remarkable to watch how our faculty and staff managed, how our students did what I think was an extraordinary job in terms of continuing their education, creating the kinds of friendships and developing the kinds of relationships that we hope will happen as part of Northern Michigan University experience, and to be able to do this all in such a safe way. You know, Marquette is an extraordinary place to live, work, and learn. And because of all the advantages that we have up here, because of all the advantages of the outdoors, and because of the real sense of community and support for one another, our fall semester was very successful, and we expect the same kind of thing to happen this next semester. As students come up and start classes a week from today, first of all, we're very excited to get everybody back on campus. You know, college campuses are kind of dull and boring without the students. So I can tell you our faculty and staff are as excited as can be about getting the students back and being back face-to-face in the classes and providing all of the different options that we have. One of the things that we've gone through over this particular break is a massive cleaning effort between semesters and sterilization. In fact, all of our buildings were closed while we did that, opened up just yesterday to really everything in place. One of the things that we see, our students will see as they come back is, you know, all the signage and plexiglass and all of the protocols in place for us to really keep everybody moving and keep learning going, which is what we're committed to do. So excited about it. Certainly excited, you know, in talking with our faculty. You know, one of the things that I hope you share with your students is what it takes to be a successful student. And I've always felt that I've been around higher ed most of my adult life, and I've come down to three things. Our commitment as a university is to help students be successful. And by success, we mean that they're happy, they're healthy, they're engaged, and they graduate. Our commitment is to graduating. In fact, I often talk to the students and say, you know, through high school you may have been told that the goal is to go to college, but that's not really the goal. The goal is not to go to college, the goal is to graduate from college. And there are just three things students have to do to be successful and graduate from school. First is, we hope everyone finds a major for which they have a real passion. There's no sugarcoating it. It's a lot of work to be a student at Northern Michigan University. The demands are high, the workload is high. It takes a lot of work and effort. Students will end up studying and working harder than they ever thought they would. And if you have a major for which you have a passion, the work seems to disappear in the background. And so finding a major for which you have a real passion. And we know we have a lot of students that come up and their view is that I don't have a major. You know, they come up as undeclared. And I'm often asked, you know, what's my favorite major on campus? My answer is always undeclared. I love it when students come and explore and try different things out and engage with one. It's just such an exciting thing to be able to see. And so picking a major for which you have as a passion. Second thing to do is to connect with a faculty member or a staff member. We have faculty from among the most prestigious institutions in the country, in fact, in the world. And they come to Northern almost always for the same two reasons. If you get the chance to talk with a faculty member, ask them, so why'd you come to Northern? And they'll almost always say these two things. I came to Northern because I like the direct personal engagement I get to have with undergraduate students. That is their focus. And secondly, they'll tell you that they're here because of this amazing lifestyle that we get to live on the shores of Lake Superior. That combination is magical. And when a student connects with a faculty or staff member, it really brings vitality to the college experience. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to see. And the third thing, and I know Cash will talk about this a little bit, but maybe the most important thing of all is to get involved, to join something, be a member of a club. We have over 350 different clubs on our campus. And you know, some of them are the ones you kind of think of. You know, there's lots of sports clubs that students can join. There are social clubs, there are academic clubs. You can even join the surfing club, which, by the way, I think they're a little crazy, but they go out, particularly in November, the proverbial gales of November blow the waves in, and they don wetsuits and they surf here. A little crazy for me, but you just watch the connection that those students have with one another. Encourage your students to get involved. The spice of a college life is so much about that involvement. And so if your student, your son or daughter says, oh, I'm just too busy to join something, call them on it. Say, that's not what you need to do. Get out and join something, because those students will make friends that last a lifetime. And one of the great parts of my job is I get to talk to alums. And while I've not been able to do it as much this year because of COVID, I can tell you the many times I've met with groups of alums that went to school here 50 years ago, and they reconnect and they talk as if they were 20 years old again. And it's an amazing thing to see, the lifelong friendships that they make. So I can go on and on and on, and I'm often accused of doing that. I want to introduce Cash to you and let him make a few comments, and then we'll jump into some of your questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Erickson. My name's Cash Thanapal. I'm an Assistant Dean of Students here at Northern. First, I'm super happy that you've joined us here this evening. We will be answering your questions in a bit. You can text your questions to 906-224-2032, and you can continue to text your questions as we go along. If we don't get to your questions, you can expect an email response within the next few days from someone in orientation. Second, you are getting ready to send your child off to college very soon, and we hope that you're taking the time to talk to your student about some important things that will help make them successful, very similar to what Dr. Erickson was just telling us a moment ago. I've been a college student myself 4 times at 3 different institutions, Northern being one of them. I worked directly with students since I was 19, but I do remember being a scared 18-year-old, moving 8 hours away from home in Detroit and going very far away. It was hard, but I learned a lot. For example, I learned that once someone has a tattoo, there's really nothing you can say about it that'll make any difference. There are many things your student will do when they come to college that might make you cringe, cry, get angry, But if you know about it, at least they're talking to you, and that's a victory. Think about what you'll say when they call and tell you that they're unhappy, that they failed a test, they can't stand their roommate, can't find anything to eat in the cafeteria, are unsure they're in the right major, just got a tattoo, not coming home for break, joining a fraternity, and jumping off cliffs for fun. And those are just the things I called my own mom about during my first semester of college. It's okay for students to be anxious or upset or angry or uncomfortable or sad at times. Students need to learn what to do when things don't go well, and we need to get used to not solving their problems for them. It's important for you to start talking to your children about solving their own problems, dealing with situational anxiety and depression, taking responsibility for themselves, and learning from their mistakes. That being said, we at NMU are all here to help them and to help you. Our goal for tonight and for this series of modules that we created for you is to help you get to know Northern so you feel comfortable leaving your student here this winter. We're now ready to start answering questions we have received. As I said earlier, you are welcome to keep texting them to us. Are you ready, Fritz?
I'm ready.
This is his favorite part. All right. So the first question, can first-year students bring cars to campus?
Oh, this is one of my favorite questions. The answer is yes, but you shouldn't do it. And the reason I say that is, you know, it does snow in Marquette. And one of the things, now, this has been an amazingly mild winter. Those of us that are skiers are a little disappointed in the fact that we don't have the kind of snow that we really ought to have. We ought to be under 3 or 4 feet by now, but, you know, we've only got 3 or 4 inches on the ground. But there's always hope. One of the things that happens when freshmen bring cars is, they become the Uber driver for their floor, and people who don't have cars, they walk down, hey, I know, you know, Joe or Sam or whoever it is has a car. Let's go get them to drive us to Meyer or drive us out to the falls or drive us out to Black Rocks or drive us out to all these terrific places. If you're comfortable with that, you know, okay. The other thing that happens, though, is because of the snow, students get a little tired of digging their cars out. Then they stop. And last winter, because we did have a lot of snow, we had to go around and put orange cones on top of piles of snow to mark that there was a car underneath that so that the plows wouldn't drive into it. And the kids that did that ended up spending several hours trying to dig their car out of a block of ice. Now, truth be told, our folks love to help students dig them out, but it's a lot of work. If they bring a car, the most important thing to do is bring a shovel.
Absolutely. So the next question we have is, if we come up to Marquette during the semester, can our daughter leave campus to visit with us?
Normally, of course, the answer is yes. But one of the things that's helped us keep our COVID rates really low is we've really limited visitors. And so while there's no mechanism, to prevent that, and if you come up and your daughter decides, to go visit, you can do that, but we really encourage you to limit that. One, for COVID protocols, but the other thing is it's really important for students, particularly students that come mid-year, to connect with other students. So you want to give them time to, develop those friendships and do those kinds of things. One of my favorite stories is a couple of years ago, a mother called me up and said that she was really concerned that her daughter hadn't come home and hadn't seen her for almost 10 weeks, and that I should go find her and tell her to go see her mother. And I kind of scratched my head because that was an unusual one for me, and I kind of talked to her about it a little bit, and I thought, well, it must be because that she's, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours away. I finally said, so where are you from? She said, Marquette. And the interesting thing was that her daughter was just having too much fun and did not want to miss out. And I, of course, said, what a wonderful gift you're giving your child to have that independence and to be able to grow and develop. So the answer is yes. You might want to wait a while, though, if you're going to do that. If you come up, though, we're not going to let you come on campus much because we have some real restrictions on visitors and so forth as part of our COVID protocols. The restaurants and so forth are not open, so there'll be limited places that you can go. But, those are decisions you all have to make.
Okay. This ties directly into the question you just answered. Will we be able to help with the move-in and getting our son settled into his dorm room on Friday?
Yes, except you won't be able to go into the dorm room to do that. And the way it works is, as you pull up, they have these wonderful giant boxes, and then we'll be swarmed on by a group of other students to help. And so you fill up the box with all the stuff, parents kind of hang out there, or you can go into the public areas of the residence halls, depending on the residence hall, that you're in. You can go into there, but in the living areas where the students are, we really want to keep that, again, for COVID protocols, limited to who gets to go in there. And it's a sad thing. It's an unfortunate thing, because one of the real rites of passage for us as parents, I know I did that with my son and my daughter, to be able to help move in and, help color coordinate the sheets and the towels and, all that goes with that. But at this point in time, it's not the best thing to be able to do to get into that part of it. But it can still be a very meaningful experience for you and your child to do the move-in the way we've got it set up.
So the next has to do with our dining facilities. What do meals look like? Do students have to eat in their dorm rooms? Do they have all the options in the cafeteria?
So the way dining works right now, and it depends on what the state health department orders are at the time. So at this moment in time, what students do is they get an app called the Get app. And so they go on their app and they order their food. They go down to the dining hall, Northern Lights Dining, and they say their name and they're handed their box, and then they have several other places to go. Now, as it opens up, which we expect in a couple of weeks, they'll be actually able to then take their boxes and sit in the dining hall and so forth, or other kinds of areas to be able to do that. So students have done a really good job with managing that. We've tried to continually expand the menu choices that are there for the students. They can come to the dining hall as often as they like and eat as much food as they care to eat. There is the famous freshman 15 that does happen. I'm waiting for the 63-year-old 15 that happened over COVID, but that's kind of part of it, I guess.
Could you speak a little bit about options for people who have dietary restrictions?
Options for dietary. We have an on-staff dietitian, and anybody that has dietary restrictions, allergies and so forth, really encourage you to talk to the dietitian. And the dietitian can help set up and make sure that we are meeting all the dietary restrictions that we have. We have a place in the dining hall that deals with people that have those restrictions. So if you have, say, for example, a nut allergy, we have that set up. But it works really well through the dietitian. And they do a great job helping students understand, when we serve food, what's in it, what's on it, and all of those kinds of things.
So the next has to do with books. Can we order books through the bookstore online and then pick them up on campus?
I believe the answer is yes, but I've not done that, so I don't know. Are you aware of that one,
Yep.
Cash?
You absolutely can order your books online.
Okay.
You should finalize your classes with your advisor. Your student should finalize your classes with their advisor, and once they've done that and they know for sure, they can go onto the bookstore's website. There are links throughout the NMU main webpage. If you just type in bookstore in the search bar, it'll pop right up, and they can order their books online, and then they'd be ready for pickup when you get here.
Great.
All right, so the next question we have is, where do we drop immunization records off?
So there's a website, I believe, for that, so that you can direct that directly to the health center. We have 2 wonderful physicians on our campus that manage all of that, as well as half a dozen nurses and so forth. So that's how that happens, through the health center.
You can also contact the health center with questions. You're welcome to give them a call. I believe their number is 906-227-2355.
Right.
Next question. Can parents and guests also eat at the Northern Lights Dining Cafeteria?
Normally the answer is yes, but at this point in time, no, until the state health department restrictions are lifted.
For students that have not been very social through high school and are more reserved, are the resident advisors watching out for interactions among students and there to help if there are any concerns?
One of the things that we take enormous pride in on this campus is the resident life experience. It's a very important part of the whole collegiate experience. In fact, the truth be told, you ask a graduate 30 years after they've left us, do they remember my ed psych class? They might remember a few things. What they really remember are the friends that they made and the experience that they had. And residence life is central to that. One of the things that our RAs do, that I'm just so proud and impressed with them, is that they are really committed to keeping everyone engaged. And that's whether it's doing different kinds of activities, providing mechanisms to be for engagement. I asked the RAs once, I said, so tell me what it is that an RA does. And without batting an eye, they said, our job is to make sure everyone is included. And that's an important. So if your son or daughter is a little bit reserved, they're, kind of watch out, because they're going to be pulled into lots of things. And it's such a fun thing to see. And it's not uncommon for a student to be, a little reserved, a little held back, and so forth. I know I certainly was when I was a college student. But it's an amazing thing to watch that blossom and those connections to be made. And the more we can support that, the better off it is. It also speaks to what I said about joining. Joining is an important part of that experience. So join something. I mean, just look at the list of clubs and organizations and say, I have a real interest in that. You can join one of the strangest ones I heard of, someone started the Sasquatch Search Club. I'm not quite sure what they do. I guess they tromp around in the woods and look for Sasquatch. I asked once what they're going to do when they find Sasquatch, but...
Run, I hope.
What's that?
Run, I hope.
Run. I don't know, but... And I always like and encourage to join something that really stretches your boundaries. Join the crew team. I mean, if you've never been in one of those skinny little boats and row around, it's an amazing thing to watch. And my son, when he went off to college, he was about as shy and reserved as could be, and I just was relentless in saying, what club, what club? So finally, saw a poster for the crew team, and he joined the crew team. And then 3 weeks ago, he was a guy that he met on that crew team. He was the best man in his wedding. That's what happens. So get involved. It's absolutely critical.
My daughter has a class that ends late in the evening. How safe is it for her to be walking on campus by herself at night?
We have a remarkably safe campus. You can follow us. We post all of our stuff, our Clery reports, all of the safety data. You know, Marquette has listed constantly in the top 20 safest college towns in the country. But don't walk across campus by yourself. And just because we are safe, well, one of the things that worries me is that it can lead to a bit of complacency. So if your daughter has to walk across campus at night by herself, we have a number to call, and we have student escorts that will immediately come right over and walk with your daughter back to their residence hall or wherever they're going. It's a great service. And by the way, it's not a bad way to meet people either.
Absolutely. What happens if a student tests positive for COVID during the checks before school starts?
Okay, great question. A couple of things about COVID and testing. So part of our commitment for safety is to test everybody. You know, and we are one of the few universities you'll find about anywhere that's testing everybody. And we're right in the midst of it right now. So if you test positive, say you're testing before you come, which we've encouraged folks to do, test positive before you come, don't come. Quarantine, but all of your classes will have a component to be able to start online. Most of the classes that our faculty are teaching right now have the face-to-face component, but also a Zoom component. And we do that for a couple of reasons, because look, if a student wakes up in the morning and they're not feeling well, we don't want them to come to class, but we don't want them to miss class either. So simply flip open your laptop that we provide, and lo and behold, you can go to class that way. So we would rather you not come. If you send up a test, our medical team will be in contact about the protocols for that. Of course, the follow-up is what happens if you test positive or come down with COVID while you're here. One of the things that we have done that's worked out very well is we've set aside an entire residence hall for anybody that's tested positive and needs to be isolated, or was exposed to someone and needs, through contact tracing, to be quarantined. And that's Spalding Hall. And again, anybody that tests positive works directly with our medical doctor, Chris Kirkpatrick. He's in charge of that, does a great job with it, and makes sure that we're following all of the protocols. We bring all the food in. We really do take care of the students very well while they're in the dorm or in that residence hall. They bring their laptops, and the good news is the time that people have to quarantine and isolate has been reduced by the CDC. And so, now one other thing that I really encourage everyone to do, though, is we have a very comprehensive dashboard that tells you everything that's going on with. If we have positives, how many do we have? If we have students in isolation or quarantine, how many do we have? And you can check that, you can check that multiple times a day. Our medical team updates that daily, multiple times a day. And the last thing I would say is, not only are we testing everybody coming in, we just, as of today, finished 1,500 initial tests coming in. We had 8 positives, or a positivity rate of less than 0.5%. And that's kind of what we expected, and so forth. We will be randomly testing or pulling students out for testing every week all semester long. And so that's how we monitor students as they go through this process. We require that students, when they're asked to come in to test, that they come in and test. That's part of the commitment we make to one another, and that includes our faculty and staff, because we test everybody, and so we do that. The other interesting thing that's happening is we're working very closely with the Marquette County Health Department on setting up a vaccine station for mass vaccines on campus. And so pay attention to that. A lot will be dependent upon how many vaccines we can get and how we can push them out in collaboration with the health department. But I'm really confident in the protocols that we have in place to limit the amount of COVID that we have. And in the rare cases where we do have positive cases, we have the protocol to help keep each other safe.
How will students keep up with classes if they're required to isolate or quarantine?
So same kind of thing. How do you keep up if you're required to isolate and quarantine? One of the things we've asked all of our faculty members to do is to really be able to teach their classes in a couple of different modes. And so last fall, I had the opportunity to go in and teach a couple classes. And one of the things you do when you're teaching the class is I stood at the lectern, and I had a laptop in front of me with the camera on. Some students were on Zoom sitting in front of me. Many students were sitting out in the class. That can happen in a couple of different ways. So if a student's not feeling well, or is COVID positive, or they can do that, or those kinds of things. Some of our faculty have done what I think is just a brilliant job, because in some classrooms we can't put the whole class in there because of social distancing. They've set up these really cool ways of using class time differently, where they'll have students watch their lectures online and then come face-to-face during their time for small group interactions, for discussions, and so forth. And in fact, I was talking to a number of faculty who've said, I don't think I'd ever develop this model, but when COVID's all over, I'm going to continue to do this. It's caused me to rethink how I teach my class, that it's not just me standing up and talking. I'm going to take more advantage of the time for these kinds of discussions.
Awesome. Are there employment opportunities on campus?
Yes, there are a lot of employment opportunities on campus, kind of all across the board. Virtually all the offices have student employees. I know in my office I have 3 student employees that come in and work. The only thing we ask of our student employees is student first, classes first, education first. And we have a strong culture of accommodating those needs. So, if there's an exam, you need to study. If you need to do something in group work or whatever it is, that we make that accommodation. Taking on a job on campus can be really a rewarding thing, because you learn a lot from that. And secondly, it can be a great way to meet and engage with people. So if you're looking for employment, there's a lot of opportunities here for you.
We know that dining hires every semester. They're definitely hiring for this upcoming semester. I worked in dining myself as a freshman, and actually one of my best friends in the whole world is someone who worked at the grill right next to me. Yep. Next question is, what sort of public transportation is available?
So public transportation in a couple of ways. One of the things is that all of our students have free access to the we'll call MarkTran. It is the Marquette bus system and so forth. So all I have to do is, I think they just show their ID when they get on the bus, and so they can get around that way. But we also do other kinds of things. For example, on Fridays, we run shuttles up to Target and Walmart. So if you need a shopping fix, we'll get you up there and shuttle you back on those kinds of things. one of the advantages that we have is, being in a small community, it's pretty easy to walk everywhere as well. It's easy to, we've tried in the past of running shuttles on campus, just the thing. Nobody uses them because it's just as easy to walk for that. And of course, there's 3rd Street, which is really close, and you often see lots of students going down 3rd Street and being engaged that way.
What mental health resources exist on campus?
Mental health is a very important aspect on our college campus, something we take very, very seriously. And we have a couple of different things that are available. We certainly have our counseling center, highly trained and skilled counselors that our students can connect, make an appointment, go in and talk with and engage with our counselors. We've also instituted a telehealth model for mental health so that students can log on and be able to see a psychologist or even a psychiatrist that way. There's a mechanism to do that. And that's been important. One of the most important aspects of mental health, though, is watching out for one another. There's nothing more important than that. Keeping an eye on one another, which is, again, kind of part of the culture that we have here of supporting one another. I often say, the reason this is a connected community, that if you're driving a car and you get stuck in a snowbank, odds are before you can get out of your car, someone will have stopped and already started pushing you or digging you out, or it's almost like it's such a cultural requirement. No matter what, I can tell you how many cars that I've pushed out wearing a suit, but you wouldn't even think otherwise to do that. The same thing applies to mental health. It is really important, and we really encourage students, to talk to one another, and if a student is, need of support, whether it's just basic talking to somebody, to all the way up to a full range of psychological services, we provide that.
Awesome. Is there a bank with which NMU has partnered and/or has a branch ATM on campus?
So in the Northern Center, we have Flagstar Bank. And so we have a lot of students that use Flagstar Bank that has an ATM there and available. I don't know if there's another ATM. I think it's that's where
there's one there. Definitely one inside the Northern Center.
Definitely one there, but Flagstar Bank is the one that's on our campus.
Do we have to change our students' primary physician? Does the campus have a walk-in clinic like a MedExpress that takes anyone without changing a primary physician?
Yeah, no, you do not have. I always hate to answer. I'm like, no, but no. In fact, it's really better for students to keep their primary physician. Any of our students can just walk into the health center and get served, right on the spot. Again, it's an area of real pride for us. Our medical staff is there. There are a few protocols in place to address, COVID. We like it if students can call ahead so they know they're coming and so forth. But even short of that, you walk up and walk in, and somebody will be there to take care of you. And so we want our students to be able to avail themselves of mental health issues and physical health issues. It's so much better to take care of things early than to defer them out and so forth. So encourage your sons and daughters to take advantage of the health center. It's a wonderful service.
One of the beautiful things about the health center is that you don't need to walk in there with money or a checkbook or a credit card. They will bill the student's account. So if you need services and need to see a doctor, they'll bill you, and you don't need to worry.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that they do that they don't even bill for. Mm-hmm. So they handle all the insurance stuff, and the last thing in the world we want to do is deny anybody service.
Absolutely. Do all students get to use an NMU laptop?
Yes, sort of. Let me rephrase the answer. All full-time students get to have an NMU laptop. And it's a great thing that we do. And more importantly than the laptop is the high-speed internet that is everywhere. You know, we took on the task of trying to solve rural high-speed broadband access for the entire Upper Peninsula. We have an amazingly talented IT staff, and they came one day and said, you know, we broadcast and do high-speed internet so our students, one of the things our students like to do when the weather's good is they go out in the woods with their hammocks and they pop open their laptops and they sit there. I did have a student say, I asked, so what do you do when you do this? Oh yeah, we go out in the woods, we set up our hammock, I open my laptop and I pretend to study. Because it's usually overlooking, a spectacular view of Lake Superior and so forth. We have terrific internet access, and so they can go all over the UP and go out in the woods and hike and still have access. Not everywhere, but boy, a lot of the vast majority of places, I think, we're there. Oh, by the way, equally as important to the laptop is all the software that's provided. And my friends in IT get mad when I forget to tell you about the software, because it's not just getting the laptop, it's getting all the software that links up to the classes that you had and all of those kinds of needs. And what different departments do is they say, well, I need in this class for my students to have this statistical package or this piece of art software, or depending on what you're doing, and that will be preloaded on those machines, which saves families an awful lot of money. And for whatever reason, if a laptop breaks, we have wonderful help desk. You walk in, you won't walk out without a working computer. It's just that's their model. They'll either fix it on the spot or give you a new one.
Awesome. Will there be a spring break this semester?
Unfortunately, no spring break, and I'm not sure who's sadder about that, our students or our faculty. But the reason we are starting after Martin Luther King Day was our goal is to bring people here and to keep them here during the entire semester. And we were really worried that if we did spring break and people headed off to, I don't know where they go, Cancun or I always say I'm old. I think Fort Lauderdale. They all go to Fort Lauderdale, but apparently that's not where they go. We just don't think that that's a good, safe thing to do. So what we are doing is we are not having spring break. We're starting a week later, no spring break, but we are working on different ideas to give students that sort of mental break. So don't be surprised if you look outside and it's like, I wonder why they call the snow day and there's not a lot of snow. We're very sensitive to that issue, but at the end of the day, we felt it was really important. We did that, by the way, for the fall. What we did for the fall is we started a week early and ended before Thanksgiving. And that meant students could come, they could stay, and instead of going home for a week at Thanksgiving and coming back, risking additional exposure, students came, they did it, Thanksgiving came, they left.
What types of support services do you have for students of color?
We have several important support services for students of color. It is central to who we are and our identity. It is part of our mission, it is part of our core values. Couple of key elements that we have. First of all, I think it really begins with our Chief Diversity Officer, Jessica Cruz. And I would encourage anybody to connect with Jessica because she is just remarkable at keeping people engaged, addressing issues, being advocates for students, and helping them through processes and navigating the systems that we have in place. So Jessica is an enormously valuable person. We also have a number of organizations that are really important to belong to. Just as one example, our Black Student Union, wonderful group of students that are connect with one another, share common experiences, address challenges. We think that's important. Certainly, our Native students have the Native American Studies program and all the activities that are related to that. So we have those kinds of things. But we also have allies that support students from the LGBTQ plus community, which has been very important for us. And we have the Multicultural Education Resource Center located in Hedgecock Hall, which provides a place for all kinds of opportunities for cultural awareness, cultural enrichment, cultural engagement. And you will see this semester an even greater emphasis and expansion of the kinds of things that we are doing out of that operation.
Awesome. Do the residence halls offer bike storage for the winter?
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure, so we will get back to you with the answer to that
I'm
question.
pretty sure the answer is yes. And I give you about a 90% yes on that one, because they do have some big areas that I know they set those aside. Although I have to tell you, we have a lot of students that ride their bikes all winter long.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, particularly ones, I don't know if you've seen these fat tire bikes.
They're fantastic.
They're just, I got on one once, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
I got to ride one around the quad, and that was fun.
Did?
Yeah, it was great. And actually, you can rent those. It's tied to the Nakamonon Trail Network.
That's right. So one of the things we do have is access to the NTN network, Nakamonon Trail Network. And all of our students, we bought a pass for all of our students. So all students get it. And if you want to try out a fat tire bike, you just go up and say, I want to check this out. No charge. You just get on and learn to ride a fat tire bike. I think the only challenge that comes is we've had a lot of students that just fall in love with fat tire bike riding, decide they want their own. And I tell you what, the cost of those things is more than the first car I ever had.
Ooh, yeah.
So be a little careful.
Are there any sporting events taking place this semester?
There are sporting events taking place this semester. So far, we've got up and operational. All sporting events didn't happen really until the first of the year. We did have a few preseason things, but they've really started since the first of the year. The two that are going on right now are hockey and basketball, both men's and women's. Now, they're great, but we're not allowing fans at this time. And so we encourage you to watch them on the cable channels that run through the campus and be fans that way. But at this point in time, given the restrictions and so forth, we're no fans, with great hope that before the end of the semester is. I've gone to check out to make sure we were doing it right. A couple of our hockey games in a 4,000-seat arena that was empty, and it's kind of eerie to watch. So we're all very excited to get fans back. And oh, by the way, we are the teams for volleyball, track and field, swimming and diving, and I think lacrosse are getting ready to start up.
Awesome. Before we ask the last question, we did get one very specific question. When is tuition due for students this semester? And the answer for that is January 19th.
Oh.
So the final question we have, what outdoor activities would you recommend for students who have not lived in the Upper Peninsula before?
Well, first of all, get good boots. That's first, for good boots. You know, I know people here that wear really nice suits with Sorel boots. I mean, boots are the thing to have. Make sure you're equipped. Make sure you dress in layers, and make sure that what you do is when you go out and enjoy the winter that you don't do it alone. That's really important because, you know, safety happens in numbers. The more you can, you know, go off and do things. But there are lots of things. Look, we have groups of students that are big into winter camping. You know, where they go out, and I've come in and seen them where they've headed out on a Friday and come back on a Sunday afternoon on, you know, the coldest, snowiest winter days with the biggest smiles you've ever seen. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. We talked about fat tire bikes. Those are great. The residence halls are putting together any number of things. Don't hold me to it, but right now, Student Life is working on putting in an outdoor ice rink, which I'm really excited about. Yeah. I might even dig out my old skates to go out and skate again, and you know, do all the things to have. They're getting ready to flood an area to do some outdoor skating and things like that. The advice I give everyone, whether it's students or new faculty and staff, winter is a wonderful time. And of course, my outdoor activity is skiing. And I tell you what, if you don't know, if your sons or daughters don't know how to ski and they want someone to teach them, give me a call. I love taking students over and giving them some ski instruction, getting them out on the hill. We have, you know, our ski hill, our downhill hill is 7 minutes from campus. And it's a spectacular, fun thing to be able to do. And they've done a marvelous job over there dealing with how they have to do social distancing and still having skiing. But if downhill skiing isn't your thing, get involved with cross country, because you can go over to the PEEF and say, I'd like to check out cross country skis and the boots and sort of the whole get up, and head out to just absolutely spectacular trails. I think there's a lot of folks that argue that the finest cross-country skiing in the entire country, and we've seen that picked up in a lot of outdoor sports magazines, is right here in Marquette. Again, just, you know, don't go alone. Don't, you know, you know, I've had some challenges where we've had to send out rescue crews for folks that went alone and, you know, got lost and so forth, and it just shouldn't happen. So as long as you do it in a safe way, there's so many different. Go for a hike, climb Sugarloaf. I mean, all those kinds of things are just as much fun. And if you're really wacky, try surfing.
Dr. Erickson hit this a few minutes ago, but we do take care of each other up here. If your student, if another student you know needs warm clothing or needs some good boots, you're welcome to send them over to the Dean of Students office. We keep a stockpile of warm winter clothing specifically for students in need.
Great.
Okay. So just a quick reminder, our virtual Zoom session for student orientation will take place on Thursday, January 14th. We start at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so please make a note of that if you're in a different time zone. If you'd like to say anything before.
Oh, yeah, no, I just, I hope we've been able to answer some of your questions and alleviate some of the worry. I mean, one of the great worries in life is taking your child off and dropping them off at college. But know this, know that our community is committed to being as helpful and supportive as we can. And I have to say this, I really mean it. We have amazing students here. You know, people come here because they like this lifestyle. They like the kinds of of engagement that you get in this kind of a place. And so, you know, we will do our utmost to be helpful. And if you have any comments or concerns, give us a call. You can always call me. You can, you know, you call, we answer. So with that, thank you so very much for letting us do this tonight.